We see the headlines about massive lawsuits and market monopolies, but we rarely see the actual mechanics of how they're being fought. This is EconWorks. We look past the talking points to find where law, economics, and markets actually collide. Let's get into it.
You know, right now, competition enforcement is absolutely front and center of economic policy. We're seeing it everywhere, from the tech giants we use every day to the platforms we buy concert tickets on, even in healthcare and aviation. Regulators are really stepping in, and they're being pretty aggressive about reshaping entire industries. So let's dive into what's become one of the most complex balancing acts in modern economics.
And this image, it just perfectly illustrates the core question we're facing, right? How do you make sure markets stay fair and competitive, especially when you're talking about these incredibly complex, deeply integrated systems built by giants like Google, Amazon, and Meta? Because, let's be honest, when regulators decide to step in and use their tools, things can get messy. These interventions can have some serious, unintended consequences that might just end up disrupting the very markets they were trying to save in the first place.
Okay, so for today's briefing, we're going to walk that tightrope together. We'll start with the regulator's toolkit, then we'll look at the case for taking action. After that, we'll get into the tricky part, the unintended consequences, and finally wrap up with what this all means for the decade ahead.
All right, first things first, let's really get a handle on the remedies themselves. I mean, what are regulators actually doing when they decide to step into a market? Turns out they've got three main tools in their toolbox.
So, the first tool is what's known as a behavioral remedy. The best way to think about this is like setting new rules of the road for a company. It's not about changing the company's structure or anything, but it puts a stop to specific actions. A classic example, telling a tech giant they can't prioritize their own products in search results over competitors. It's all about changing how they behave.
Next up, we've got the most drastic tool in the kit, structural remedies. Yep, this is the big one. We're talking about the classic company breakup. This means forcing a company to sell off parts of its business or to completely separate its integrated units. The key takeaway here is that this isn't just a rule change. It fundamentally alters the entire shape of the company.
And the third tool, and this one is becoming absolutely crucial in our digital world, is all about interoperability. Basically, this forces a company to open up its closed ecosystem. Think about it. Imagine making a messaging app let you receive messages from a totally different competing app. It's all about tearing down those walled gardens to let new players plug in and actually have a chance to compete.
So there you have it. You've got these three totally different approaches. You can change a company's behavior, you can change its actual structure, or you can change how its systems connect with everyone else. These three, behavioral, structural, and interoperability, really are the core of the modern regulator's toolkit when they're trying to tackle market power.
Okay, so now that we know what the tools are, the big question is, why are regulators being so aggressive with them right now? Well, if you ask the people who support these moves, they'll tell you it's absolutely essential. They argue it's all about protecting us, the consumers, from everything from crazy high prices to getting trapped inside one company's digital ecosystem.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because this stuff connects directly to your wallet. I mean, just look at the DOJ's case against Ticketmaster. The whole argument is that they've basically created a monopoly that locks in venues, kills competition, and just jacks up those fees for all of us. Or what about the FTC looking into pharmacy benefit managers? The whole goal there is to try and untangle this super complex web of middlemen to hopefully bring down the cost of prescription drugs. And of course, in tech, it's all about stopping that lock-in effect, where you feel like you're completely trapped in one company's world of products and services. But of course, there's another side to this story. Skeptics are out there warning that these really aggressive moves could set off a kind of disastrous chain reaction. And honestly, this is where the debate gets super intense. Because the risks, well, they're just as big as the potential rewards.
And wow, this image, it just perfectly captures that fear, doesn't it? What starts out as this clean, orderly plan to fix a problem, let's just break up this business or let's force them to connect, can just spiral into total chaos. You end up with a mess of tangled wires, error messages, and systems where, frankly, nothing works anymore. It really shows you just how complex it is to meddle with these tightly integrated digital systems.
And right here, this is the regulator's dilemma in a nutshell. You've got the neat, logical intention on one side and the potential for a messy, chaotic reality on the other. And if things go wrong, you could have an operational collapse that ends up hurting the very same consumers the action was supposed to help.
Okay, let's make this real. Risk number one, you could actually bankrupt the very competitor you're trying to rescue. A perfect example is when the DOJ blocked the merger between JetBlue and Spirit Airlines.
The goal, they said, was to protect a low-cost option for flyers. But the unintended consequence? Well, Spirit, now without that financial lifeline from the deal, was pushed right to the edge of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's kind of like the cure ending up killing the patient. And here's another risk. You might end up handicapping your own domestic companies. Right now, the FTC is trying to block the merger of Tapestry and Capri. That's the parent companies of brands like Coach and Michael Kors. Now, the idea is to stop too much consolidation here at home. But critics are pointing out that this might actually hamstring these American brands, stopping them from getting big enough to compete with the massive European luxury giants on the world stage.
Then there's the tech world, where this heavy scrutiny can just bring innovation to a grinding halt. Take the review of the deal between HPE and Juniper. Just the delay from the review process can slow down or even block the kind of integrations they need to build a stronger competitor to the biggest global tech players. In this case, the delay itself becomes the problem. It's a barrier to competition.
So, all of this, it brings us right to the core challenge for pretty much every business leader and policymaker for the next decade. How in the world do you navigate this incredibly complex, high-stakes landscape?
You know, this quote really just nails it. It says, "The competition toolkit is powerful. However, rough methods can often cause serious problems, which can defeat the ultimate purpose of promoting competition and hurt consumer choices." It's so true. The tools are powerful, no doubt, but if you use them like a sledgehammer, you can create problems that completely undermine what you were trying to do. And at the end of the day, consumers could end up with fewer choices and worse outcomes.
So really the bottom line is this: the defining challenge for our economy right now is figuring out how to build and maintain healthy, competitive markets without accidentally breaking the very products, services, and companies that millions of us rely on every single day. It's an incredibly high-stakes balancing act, and there are just no easy answers.
And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? When you look at the future of tech, of healthcare, of all these critical industries, are these aggressive moves by regulators the right medicine for the market? Or is the risk of those unintended side effects just way too high? It's something we're all going to have to grapple with.
Thanks for watching. For the deep dive economic analysis behind these stories, join us at econworks.com. Subscribe to stay informed on where law and economics meet the market. We'll see you in the next episode.